Welcome back to Tax Talk with Hey Hey, where we offer simplified tax planning and mentorship to help 6 and 7-figure CEOs ditch the daily hustle by achieving financial independence from your business by increasing your purchasing power and diversifying your source of passive income. Through financial mentorship, realistic goal setting, and simplified tax planning, without having to hustle for the rest of your life, with the guarantee of the optimal roadmap to move you towards your desired time freedom. Welcome back to this episode of Tax Talk with Hey Hey. I am your host, Suhey Piedra, an enrolled agent. And today we are here with my sister Cruz.
Hello.
And my sister Brisa. Hi. And together we are Prominence. We are located in Glendora, California. And our episodes lately have been a little bit about money relationships and how we need to, feel better about having those financial discussions, whether it's taxes, budgets, how much we make, how much we want to make, and financial decisions. So with that, I wanted to transition over to breaking the cycle with our kids, right? If we struggle with money, we're only teaching our kids that is a norm and that, potentially they will struggle with money. And we talk about where the idea of working hard for money or long hours for money is the thing. And we go back to our parents, how we grew up. And so it's definitely something that we pass on to our children. So a couple of things that we've been doing, and a lot of the stuff that I've learned it later on, and therefore my kids are a little bit older. So I haven't been able to see the big changes, but there definitely is changes in the way they talk, in the way they feel about money, and how to rephrase when we talk about money. So, Brisa, you have no kids, but you are an auntie and you spoil your nieces, your nephews. Your husband's a big old kid. Yeah. So how do you deal with, and what would you say would be a really good thing that we can teach the kids?
I even believe it a lot myself. I always felt earning your money is a big thing. I would always tell you, make them wash their car and give them money, and you would just kind of hand money off before. But when it came to, my nieces and nephew, I wouldn't make them do anything. I would just whatever you want, tell me what you want and I'll get it for you. And, but it would affect me a lot when I saw they weren't grateful for it, because they knew Christmas was coming, they're going to get whatever they want. But then when they'd open it and they weren't even excited about it, I was like, you're not even grateful that you got what you wanted. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I started seeing it okay, I'm going to get you what I want, but at the same time, it's something you want. It's in the vicinity of what you want, but not exactly that. But that's kind of, and the same thing with my husband. Yeah, he loves, kids, and he loves to spoil them, give them whatever they want, regardless of what it's going to take. And I'm like, that's fine and dandy. I love that about him. But at the same time, take that time to realize that it doesn't come that easy for anybody. It's you have to learn to still, I don't know, it's weird to explain, but it's give them what they want, but at a cost, I feel, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think we say you spoil them, but it comes from, I think when we were younger, we didn't have everything. Yeah. We just want to give them the best life and give them what they want, because we wanted things and we couldn't have it, and it didn't feel good at that time. Mm-hmm. And now that they want it and you can give it to them and you do give it to them, it feels good that you're able to give it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it does. And like I said, I remember, with growing up where we couldn't have everything we did want, and it would make me feel kind of ugly inside, and that's probably why I don't want them to feel that way, and it kind of brings that back. So I do give them what they want, but at the same time, it's I want to, because I see that it does make them happy.
Yeah. The thing is that we're raising spoiled brats.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? We're raising kids that are ungrateful, like you said. It's just, 4 kids, 5 kids, whatever. At first it was just 2 kids, and the Christmas tree's to the rim and Christmas presents, mm-hmm. right? Because these kids get 2 presents, and we started limiting it,
Yeah,
right?
we
You're only
did.
allowed to buy them 1 present or 2 presents. Because it was ridiculous. Like, our Christmas tree was literally to the rim of presents, and we only have 1 kid. Like, come on, right? But it's just that was the thing. We were trying to give them way more, and that's what's happened. Is our kids tend to be ungrateful. But I've heard a couple different things where they say, well, you know, if you have them wash the car, they should get, you know, that's how you give them their allowance or something like that. There's mixed feelings about that, right? Because in reality, they should be washing your car because that's their chore. That's what they need to be doing. They shouldn't necessarily have to get paid for it, right? So that's the other thing, is having them wash dishes and then in return they get paid. It's like, well, they should just be washing the dishes in general. Like, that should not have to be, you know, that you get rewarded for washing dishes.
Yeah.
Like, you should have washed dishes anyways, right? And it's a very hard topic, because I have kids and my kids are older and they're lazy. They're still lazy. Like, I still do everything for them, you know? And so a lot of the times you're just like, at what point do we, or how, you know, do you start that discipline, you know? So I think it is when they're very young. And some kids, their personalities are different. So they're going to take an assignment and do it because they want to accomplish that assignment. And there's another one that's just not going to care. You know, assign me 10 things. They'll get done when I say they get done, or if they get done, you know. So it has to do with their personalities for sure. But when it comes to money, I think it's just awareness. I think it has to do with allowing them to see how much it does really cost to have the lights running.
Yep.
Right? To see that, you know, the water that they have in the house, how much is it costing? And to know that the work that you do for you, you know, when you go to work and the money that you're earning, at the end of the day, this is where it all goes.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what they need to see. So that unknowingly, that's when I asked my son, I don't know, he must have been 12, 13, to help me pay the bills. And all it was for him to, you know, set up an online payment or whatever. But when he saw how much it was to pay the electricity bill, and I was like, yeah, and you play the PlayStation all night. You know what I'm saying? You run the AC all night. So all of a sudden, it was like they didn't realize how much things really cost.
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah. But having that conversation, because it was with Mikey, he was younger. He was like 5. And he thought the water running in our house was free.
Yeah.
I've never bothered to have that. I thought he was too young, but he wasn't, you know. And the lights, and he would always see me shutting off the lights, and I'd be like, turn off the lights, you know. But it's the thing that was instilled from my father, that I don't like all the lights on. So it's like, turn off the light. He goes, why are you always yelling, turn off the lights? And I'm like, well, because we have to pay the lights. And he like got stunned. And he's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, did you not know we have to pay for the electricity? He's like, what do you mean it's not free? And I'm like, no. And then that's when we sat down, and I was like, these, like, you know, I forget to, you think they're too young. But then when you were already helping parents pay bills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it does change. And after we had that conversation, it's like, you know, nothing is really for free. Like, you got to pay for water and all that stuff,
Yeah.
the household. Then, like, you could see his little eyes, like, rolling, like, what? Like, it's
Yeah.
so different.
To me, when I saw Emilio have the big realization was, like, his video game was like $60.
Oh.
But the internet was, I think, $60 at that point or something like that. And so then that's when he's like, Mom, the internet's just as much as my video game, you know? And I'm this is why sometimes you don't get the video game, because I have to pay the internet. So now if you want me to buy you the video game, then I can't pay the internet, and you still can't play that darn video game because we don't have internet, right? So kind of just making that connection for them is, you know, or allowing them to make that connection really help them understand that, hey, the household takes money to run, right?
Yep.
And a lot of the times, it's not that we don't want them to see it, is we didn't even know that, you know, we should, or there's interest, or we just take care of it on our day-to-day.
Yeah, and in reality, a lot of people don't see that until they move out of their parents.
Right. And so
That's
that's the
when it's a
realistic,
shock.
right,
Yeah.
the realistic expectations, right, is the fact that, you know, all of a sudden it's like you've got, you know, you were at mom's or your parents and everything was paid for or things were taken care of, and then all of a sudden you move out and it's like the struggle.
Yeah.
The struggle of having to, pay all those bills and not knowing that that's how the real world runs, right?
Yeah.
So I think having that conversation early on is very important. That they get to kind of not just know that you have to pay for the electricity and the internet and all that, but understand that this is where a portion of our finances go, and this is why we can't go to Disneyland every day, kind of deal, right? This is why we can't just go or blow our money in something else because we've got these responsibilities.
But then that's where you
conversations.
shift it. Where we shift the conversation. Well, if you want to go to Disneyland every day and you want to pay your bills, this is what you...
Right. This is how you go and you make more money.
Yes.
Right? But the thing is, let them start to see why it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what's the difference? Where is the basis of the money going in the beginning of every month, or to pay your mortgage or to pay your car or whatever it is? I think that allows them to see, okay, where's all the money going? You brought up a thing when my son was little and he wanted something, and I'd be like, hey, I don't have money to get this for you. He'd be like, well, can't you just go to the ATM and get money? In his mind, that's all he was used to. We would just go to the ATM, punch in a number, and here you have money all of a sudden. He didn't know that I had to wait for the check to be deposited, for me to work and all this other stuff. He just knew that machine would always give us money, right? Yes. And nowadays, it's kids with Amazon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Instant. What do they get? They don't understand that had to be paid for. That is something that, it still came out of your account. You have to be able to afford it in order for it to be delivered. But they don't have those two connections. Yeah. And I think it's important that one thing we should definitely do is have that conversation and show them the value of money and show them that, how's the money being kind of spent. Yep. So they have an idea of where it's going, right? I think it's just like an eye opener. But at what age, like you said, is 5 too little?
No. I didn't realize it then, but now when I saw his reaction and his understanding of things, I think it was probably a little, it's a right time, or he's still understanding things, because already at that age, he was already asking for things, he wanted things, So it's like, I think you just make them aware.
Yeah. And I mean, it doesn't have to be technical, but it could be something where you start to show them the value of things so that they understand.
The appreciation of what we do for like the house that we were living in, a household, and to appreciate that stuff, that it doesn't come free or easy, we got to work for it, and to appreciate the light.
Yes, to appreciate, to be grateful for the things that we do have. Kids nowadays are spoiled beyond. I laugh at the fact that my kids didn't know that they can drink water out of the faucet. That's it. They thought that water was not used for drinking. They're like, they're used to getting the filtered water from the refrigerator, bottled waters, but never did it cross their mind that they can drink water out of the faucet, And I'm like, what do you think I cook with? Like, what do you think, I don't know. But it was just funny to see that they're so disconnected from reality when they're this young, because,
it's just different times.
It changed.
Times. It totally changed, and we do things to better the life that we had, and my parents bettered themselves for a better life that we did, and it's just going to keep going. But I think it's important to remember where we came from, and what it really is, and start shifting, like, not to be afraid of money. It's not like, have that different conversation. Money is good to give you what you want, like, so it's important to have that.
I feel like it's a thin border where you want to teach them, but at the same time you don't want them to fear it.
Exactly.
And that's where we have to shift, right? It's encouragement. It's not about we don't have the money. It's about what can we do to get the money, and that's exactly what we need to show them, is understanding that, for example, like I said with my son, it's we have the internet that's going to cost you $60, or your video game that's going to cost $60. Like, what's more valuable and more important to you?
Yeah.
Right. And so when we pay for the internet, it doesn't mean you don't get your video game. It's now, okay, that means we have to make more money. How do we make more money so that we still get your video game?
Yep.
We still pay the internet and things like that. And so I think that allows them also to be creative, right? And so it allows them to be like, okay, what is it that I need to do? How is it? Their little critical thinking brain comes on, and it's because they want that video game. They will do whatever it takes to get that video game. And sometimes it may be a phone call to auntie saying, hey, please, I want the video game, kind of a deal. But again, that took a thought process of saying, Mom can't get it for me, but I think my aunt can get it for me. You know what I mean? Or about ways that they can work, or they can do a chore, they can do something for somebody else. It doesn't necessarily have to be for your household. But I remember when I was little, I would have to go clean my grandma's refrigerator in order for me to get like $2.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was like my Saturday morning thing. I had to go and clear out her refrigerator, wipe it down, and then she'd give me like $2 for doing it. Do you know what I'm saying? At home, I don't get paid for that,
Yeah.
But this was my grandma's house, and this was somebody else's house that I had to go do that for, and I would get $2 for it,
Mm-hmm.
And so those are the kind of things that, potentially, possibly could work for your kids, but, every kid is different, and so you kind of have to understand what, your kid, their personality, and watch. But I think that we'd be amazed, and they would surprise us at the things that they can come up with, in order to get what they want. Selling things. I know, my son was always big about, can I sell this? I'm like, I just bought it for you. I know, but I want like the latest and greatest, and they were trying to find ways to make money.
Yeah, and then when you give it to them, like Mikey recently, he collects money for birthdays, from his birthdays, and he has it sitting there. So he's so used to it, right? And so then he has it there, but he doesn't like spending it. So then he broke his remote. And so he comes down thinking, oh, Mom, we need to go to Target. And I said, okay, for what? He goes, oh, my remote broke. And I'm like, excuse me? He goes, yeah, my remote broke, so we need to go to Target. And I'm like, oh, okay. You said you have money, huh? And he goes, yeah, but that's my birthday money. I'm like, well, that's your remote, so you want to, And then he goes like, oh, let me think about it. I was like, he went upstairs, and then he's like, I'm going to go see if they even have it in stock. So he went upstairs. Then he looked at it. He came down. He goes, Mom, the remote's like $80, but they have it in stock. I said, all right. I was like, I'll take you. Get your money. And then he goes back up and he comes back down. And then he goes, oh, if I hold it down this way, it's not that bad. I was like, oh, so you figured it out, right? And sure enough, he did. And I'm like, he just doesn't, but he expected, and I'm like, okay, fine. But then, a few days later, he came and he goes, all right, Mom, we got to go to Target. It's not working. Yeah. But he first figured it out, like I had to do something.
He tried to make it work, right? And that's exactly what I mean. Like, you'd be amazed at the way these kids will react when it's something that they really want. You know what I'm saying? It goes, even like concert tickets for my kids nowadays, or just things that they want. It's all of a sudden they will come up with these amazing game plans so that they could get what they want. And that's, I think, the part that we need to allow them to flourish and teach them and guide them with, is watch them find solutions, find ways to get what they want.
Yeah.
And it'll be, to me, it's like, that's how we need to work. That's how life is, right? Yeah. When we need something, or when a bill presents itself, or when a car breaks down, it's like, that's life, that's reality. Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to get that car fixed to get to work the next day, or whatever it may be?
Yeah.
So we find ways, and our kids, I think at a certain point, if we allow them, it's only going to get a tool. It's going to be a tool that gets stronger over time, right? So money is not an easy conversation to have, but if we start off with maybe playing some sort of not video games, make it fun for them. Make it something where they start to understand how money works in a fun kind of a way. We talked about the money board that we have for the kids, and they're like, that's boring, But again, of course it's boring. Who wants to talk about their bills and budgets and stuff like that? But if we learn to make it fun for them, it's a tool that I think in the long run would definitely help them.
Yep.
My daughter is similar to how you say for birthdays she has all this money saved aside. That money will last her forever. Why? Because I keep paying for everything. Why? We keep paying for everything. So that money is like, it never goes to waste, And so she'll always be like, I have money. I'm like, yeah, because I buy everything. Like, you don't spend your money. But now, guess what? She has money, and then we were talking about it the other day. She's about to turn 18, And I'm like, hey, you can use your money for like a down payment on a car or something. She's like, Mom, I was thinking of putting it towards college. And I was like, whoa, where'd that come from? You know what I'm saying? But it's again, like little things that we've done over the years, like it's paying off, you know? And so I don't want to discourage people for not being able to talk to their kids about money and you know, exposing them to it. I think we all should. And we all should work together on the mind shift of money, you know?
Yeah, and even since Maggie was little, I know a lot of people probably are against it, but like he plays the video games, and the video games are not, you know, but you have to do certain things. He would always ask and be like, oh, can you give me $20 on PS so that I can buy coins so I can buy a car? And I'm like, no, I don't think that's the way the video game works. And it's like, what do you need to do in that video game to get that car? You know, and he's little, but he's like, I have to do this mission. And with the mission, I get paid, you know, and do this stuff. And then if you collect, then you can buy that car or do this stuff. And then I'm like, okay, well, then do that, you know. So he started figuring out how many missions. And then like in no time, he goes, Mom, I'm a millionaire. I was like, what all did you do? He goes, I had to do all these missions. I'm like, okay, that's the point. And I'm like, and that's how what we do in life. Like, we have to do something to earn it. I'm like, you got to do it. I was like, okay, it's clicking. I'm like, he was little, but I was like, you know, it's okay.
But that's exactly what I mean, is find things that will interest them, because I think if we translate that to real life, those are tools that they will utilize. You know, in our current generation, our society right now, what's the biggest thing is our kids are not leaving home, right? It's too expensive to live, to have their own apartment. It's too expensive for them to leave the household. And so, but again, yes, it's too expensive. I would agree with anybody that says, hey, rent or somewhere else is a lot of money. And there's no jobs and there's no this other stuff. But yet you see others making a lot of money and making money being entrepreneurs and doing these little side hustles and doing all this other stuff. And you're like, they didn't see an obstacle like some of us did, you know. I have my 21-year-old living at home, and he's going to be like that. He is like that. You know, he sees things as a struggle, you know. But I see my daughter's a little bit different. So every kid is going to be different. It's just, how do you entice them? And how do you make this relationship with money better so that they grow up and they start to see it as, what do I have to do to make this so I can get that?
Yeah.
You know, because I think it's all achievable. It's just how we conquer that problem, how we go after it, you know. It's all about risk and rewards. That's, you know, exactly what I was trying to say is, you know, what are we trying to teach our kids, and what's the risk of them doing this, but what's the reward of, you know, to get that.
Yeah.
So we have to play that game, and in real life, and I'm pretty sure we were all pretty much forced to do it. It's not necessarily by choice.
Yeah.
But we need to pass it on to our kids so that they have stronger tools if we teach them this at a younger age, you know. Make them participate in financial family decisions.
Yeah.
That's another really good one. You know, most of the time, what do? If we need, you know, a kitchen table, we just go buy it. If we need a TV, we just go buy it. Whatever it is that we need, we don't consult with them about what we need, right? But it's a good way to start introducing them to, look, we just bought this TV, but it cost us $1,000. Do you understand why you have to take care of it, or how long this is going to last, or, you know, the value of that money that we just spent on this television for you to have it, you know? It's like having them realize that, you know, you just made this purchase and it took money from the account to make that purchase.
Yep.
And it could be, I don't know, things that you buy for them, you know, but I know with my daughter, with her school shopping, it was the same thing. It was like, you know, we went school shopping and she's like, Mom, like, I want this and I want that. She goes, but it's so expensive. I go, well, what do you mean it's expensive? You know, and so she was just like, you know, look at the price. And I'm like, I was surprised she was looking at the prices. Surprised that she was looking at the prices. Because usually it's like, I want this, and she just kind of gets it, you know?
Yeah.
But she actually looked at the prices, and it was kind of cool that she looked at it. And so I told her, but you can afford it, right? And she's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, then get it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it was one of those things that she was that she looked at that, and I was really surprised. But they have budgets for school supplies. Between them, before, when they were younger and I had to buy for both of them, they had little budgets. Okay, you're going to buy this and you can spend that. But guess what? They would come home and they would split the pens and the pencils.
Yeah.
They knew that they could make it work. So it's kind of cool to see that when you involve them a little bit more, they really become critical thinkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And just like you said, having that conversation and putting them in we do a lot for Mikey. He's really into sports and, all that. So recently, for some reason, when I got the new phone, he started getting my emails. So he saw an email from his travel ball team. And he's like, he comes down, he goes, "You paid this much?" I was like, yeah. He goes, "I didn't know." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." He was like, "But, we do it." And I went the whole conversation. And then now he wants this training and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, so, we sat down with him and we showed him his schedule and we showed him, finances, how much everything was going to cost. And he's like, okay. I was like, but we're showing you this so you can appreciate and you can see, the value of everything and what you're going to do. And, dude, he's been getting up super early, no complaints, nothing, me arguing, nothing. The fact that he appreciates what we do for him and the value of it, he saw it.
Yeah.
He's taking his training serious. It's like,
it doesn't come easy.
And I think that's what it is, right? Taking the training serious or taking, like if we put our kids into sports all the time, they don't realize that it costs money to put them in those sports.
Yeah.
And they just do it half-assed, right? But if you kind of let them know what this is costing and the investment you're doing in them and their happiness and in their, whatever their dreams are, they turn around and start to appreciate the fact that, hey, it's not free.
It just becomes more serious. Like before, it would be like, oh, I don't want to go to practice today. I'm tired. And it's like, okay, But now it's like he sees like, oh, if I miss a day, this is worth something. Like, let me really, we put it into you because you want it. We just need that same effort back, you know. And so he's like, okay. And it's like he sees it, but. It's no matter what it is, like it's something that they relate to, they will be understanding. Video game shopping, sports, I think you can make them understand.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest one that's going to be hard, it is hard for me, and that's why I say it's going to be hard. It's difficult. You can still do it, but it's delayed gratification. In today's world, delayed gratification is something out the window. Like most of us want it now. We're looking at, Amazon. We want it delivered same day if possible, the next day. You know what I mean? Like we want things like now. And so teaching our kids about delayed gratification and allowing them to see, just kind of like you said, your son with that control, right? Yes, you could have got up and ordered it online. You could have gone to go pick it up. But he decided to wait a couple days until it was really broken. You know what I mean? But it gave him that thought process, like, do I really want to spend the $80, yes or not, over no, right? When originally when he came to you, he didn't even care that it was $80 because it wasn't his money. So delayed gratification is going to be one, for me personally, is one of the toughest ones, just because of the way things run nowadays. And I myself have a hard time with delayed gratification. If I want something now, it's like I want it now.
And it's when they ask for something, it's not a no. It's like not right now, or let's see what we could do to get it, and that delays that. And so it's like now they're part of it, and they see, okay, I do have it, but it took this to get it.
And, those are some of the tips that we kind of want to give you today. And obviously, like we always mention, this is available on our website and stuff. But when we have these conversations with our kids, we want to try to make it as simple as possible, as fun as possible for whatever their age and their personality type is, But when we started to learn about changing the relationship with money, it's all about the words that we use. And it's tough because we grew up saying, money's hard. Money's hard to get. Money's hard to get. And for you to be able to change that vocabulary overnight, it takes a little bit of work. Okay. But we have, found a few online that I thought were kind of cool, some phrases. And Cruz, I know that you do this with your son quite a bit. When we say things like, we can't afford it. So how do we rephrase, we can't afford it? It's, let's prioritize our spending right now. We're choosing to spend our money on other important things. Same thing with, do we pay the internet? Do we buy the video game? I didn't say we couldn't afford it. We definitely can, but we have to make a choice here. Either we're paying the internet or we're buying your video game, And most of the time, they'll start to understand and start to realize what's the importance.
Yes.
Right? But it's not that you can't afford it. It's let's just prioritize. And what else can we do to make sure that you get the video game, the next item on the list is your video game kind of thing.
Yeah.
A big one we always say is we're broke.
Yeah. Oh, I hate that one.
How are you going to rephrase we're broke?
Yeah. It's just being mindful of your spending right now. Like, I'm not broke. I can get it later.
Or what's the new meme I've seen? We're broke, hey, or something like that. Where I'm broke, but I'm classy, or something like that. So I'm broke, hey.
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's like they rephrase the whole word. But yeah, it's just letting them know. It's like it's not that we can't afford it. It's not that we're broke, but we're being mindful right now of how money is being spent.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it sounds better than saying like we're broke. It's like being broke is saying like you're never going to be able to afford it.
It's just giving them that fear again with money. Like, oh shoot, we don't have it, and oh my God, like we're struggling. It's like this and that. Like now they're afraid. They're gonna be afraid to ask for something else, and it's like I do not want him to feel like that. I want him to know, but okay, maybe not right now, but we'll get it or we'll figure something out, but not at this moment. So it's like I don't like saying I'm broke.
Yeah. How about
also puts it out there.
True.
See, Miss Visionary over there. Money doesn't grow on trees.
Oh yeah.
We heard that one a lot growing up.
And what does your smart kid say?
And I'd be like, yeah, it does paper.
Yeah.
And so, money's earned through hard work and smart decisions. So money's earned. And what does that mean? So again, taking the time to just really open up their eyes as far as what does it take to bring this money in the house? Do you know what I'm saying? Like what kind of decisions are you making for that money to be earned? We talk a lot about passive income. With passive income is like money's working for you, So again, it's like talk about things that will allow them to expose them to opportunities that may come to them as they get older.
Yes.
We're out of money. So that one you can easily replace. We're being careful with our spending right now.
Yeah.
So it's like we're not out of money. It's just there's other things that need to take priority right now.
Yeah.
We're in debt.
What does that mean?
So it's just we're working hard to repaying money that we borrowed, and so that we can be a little bit more financially secure.
Well, with that one, like I shared with him the credit card situation, like what it is, what it's for, and how I use it.
Correct.
We went to the park, and so he wanted to get something. I just handed the credit card over to him, and then he went and got what he needed. But now he's like, oh, so what is that? And I'm like, okay, this is what we use it for, and so it's explaining that it's money that I'm using, but the purpose of it, because the credit and all that. So like we had that conversation. So it's just communicating with them as well, like what that means.
Yeah.
Because if not, they're gonna think like your son ATM credit card, spend it.
Yeah. But that was the whole thing. Like when my son, because obviously once they graduate high school, like they get all these offers when they're in college, right? About getting credit cards. And he was afraid of them. And I was like, well, yeah, he's afraid of them because I was afraid of them because I got myself into debt all the time. So I was afraid of credit cards. And then I said, no, that's not how it works. And so I explained to him how he needed to utilize his credit, learn to build his credit. It became a game to him.
Yeah.
Because we downloaded the credit.
Yeah.
Yes! And I was like, in my days, I would have loved to someone to teach me that I can get to 800. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was unheard of. And so this kid, we downloaded the app and I showed him about credit. And I said, look, you don't have credit because you don't have a credit card. So now when you get this credit card, this is how it's going to work.
Yeah.
He is on a mission. Okay. His first credit card, I think they gave him $300. He's at $3,000 in credit on that credit card, doesn't use it. He pays it off. He knows how to, and then he watches his score go up.
Yeah.
It's a video game for him. To him, it's a game now. And I'm so happy for him because he understands, like, he put some concert tickets on his credit card, and he's like, I'm not going to be able to pay it all off at once, Mom. And I said, but look, now your tickets are going to cost you more. He goes, what do you mean? And so we started talking about interest. And it was so funny because guess what? He came up with the money to pay it off when the payment came due.
So he don't have to pay interest.
Because he refused to pay more for what he purchased than he had to. You know what I mean? But again, these are conversations that, we didn't have when we were little.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the times we shelter our kids not knowing sometimes, but that happens. So having these conversations are important. Explain to them what debt is and, how it's money that's borrowed
Yep.
and you need to get back out of it, or why is it important to borrow and at what points instead of foolish debt, but, a little bit more about, when debt is good and debt is bad.
Yep.
And so one of the other comments is we don't have money for that. So it's, again, let's save up money for when we're ready to buy it,
Yeah.
So it sounds so simple, but we're so quick to say we're broke.
Yeah.
We can't afford that, because it's been instilled in us and it's the most common response. But if we just take the time to rephrase it, it sounds even hopeful, right?
Yeah.
Like, we can't afford it right now, but we'll afford it tomorrow, kind of a thing. We don't have the money today, but we'll have it tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, speaking of afford, we'll never be able to afford that. Replace it with, if you plan and save, we can eventually afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, it's like they will help you. If they really want this, they will help you save.
Yeah.
They will help you budget in order to get what they want.
Yeah. Just like another one that I think I mentioned before is expensive. Well, that's too expensive. It's just in you to always say that. And, you're always saying that, like, that's too expensive. And he says it too. Well, I want something, but it's too expensive. So he didn't ask. And I'm like, it's like, okay, no, we got to shift it. Okay, so no, it's like, what do we have to do to be able to get that? We might not be able to afford it right now, but we will. So it's the same thing, like shifting. So no longer are you allowed to say that, like, oh, it's expensive. It's like, okay, it costs this much. I need to do this. Yeah. And we teach that to our clients. We teach it to our kids and then even ourselves. I still catch myself sometimes saying, like, oh, shoot, that's expensive. And then he'll throw it back to my face. Mom, nothing's too expensive. If you really want it and need it, what do you have to do? And I'm like, oh, here we go.
Yeah. And so it's, again, it starts with us shifting, breaking that cycle. So, the list goes on. There's many more that we can, go on there. But I really want to end with, let's break that cycle. And let's remember that, we have to teach our kids if we want that cycle to be broken. One of the ones that's on here is, keeping up with the Joneses. Our kids face that all the time. They want to have what their friends have. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we have to be able to focus and say that, what else is missed? Like, why is your kid trying to impress somebody else, right? It goes deeper than that. So talking about money, teaching them about, having that relationship with money, and it's not to impress somebody else, but it's because you need it or you want it. Those communications are very important, but it's about breaking that cycle.
Yeah.
If we want things to change, we need to work on ourselves, and therefore now passing it on to our kids.
Yep.
Right? So any other questions or any other ending notes that you want to mention before we close off?
I just love all these ideas for my own husband.
Well, that's what I was going to say earlier, and I caught myself because I was like, I know it's for kids, but I have to have the same conversation of shifting words with my husband.
Yeah.
Because I've learned it, and I'm working on it, passing it on to my son, but then I hear my husband saying, I'm like, we don't say that. Like, so now it's like both of them, I'm teaching both, and I'm still learning myself, so I learned to rephrase certain things, and then, teaching my husband, teaching my son to do it too.
And that sounds like that should be the next episode. Money talks with your spouse, right? But thank you all for joining us today. I appreciate you. Please remember to follow us on Instagram at prominence.services, and our website is prominencebusiness.com. Until next time, thank you.
So if your mindset is ready to excel to the next level, and you want to give up the multiple hats to a business who will support you, then schedule a call with us today. We can be reached at 626-825-8249. Please give us a review and share us with your friends and family.